Biggest myth about Virat?
Arrogant, spoiled brat, over the top, on edge, everything true, but on the field. Pure joy, beating Australia in 2019.
Adrenaline. T20 against Pakistan in Melbourne.
Do you remember 18 years ago what you wore? Which was the shoe you wore and what are your memories? One of the biggest ambassadors for red ball cricket. Over the last, I still say, the most influential.
We all know it's a legendary partnership you guys have had. What clicked?
We had disagreements, we had different point of view, but we never had different intent. The one thing that, he told me when we had to go play in Australia, he asked me a simple question, are you scared to face bouncer? I said, no, I'm not. He said, you stand outside. He scored 700 runs in that series.
But in him, I identified very early that he's my leader.
In South Africa, Centurion, I would have loved to be batting with Sachin Raji when he hit that shot of Shoaib.
Where do you miss Virat the most?
And ready, sir. 3, 2, 1, action.
Well, Abhishek, tell me about Agilitas, the ambition behind it, and where do you want it to go?
Well, thanks, Ravi, for joining us today. Well, Agilitas is the group company where we want to build India's largest sports company and be globally relevant. It is a company which is playing right from manufacturing to brands to retail. So end-to-end, vertically integrated, not just focused in India. Of course, that's our starting market, but also having global ambitions with our business model. The idea, Ravi, is also that, this is a category, sportswear, which is growing so much in India. And India has never had a pride of place in this category. And that's what we want to change.
Now, Virat, how did you two meet? What was the thought process into going into a field like shoes and the manufacturing of it and designing of it in the face of so much of competition?
So I met Abhishek. All the kind of commercial engagements till that point were about just putting your picture on a billboard and, kind of using product. The one thing that struck me immediately was I wanted to start it at the peak years of my career and not wait for it. He, along with his team, were very open and very flexible in understanding what I wanted to represent through my brand. From there on, I think the idea sprung slowly that, this could be done at a different scale, provided we have the manufacturing capabilities, as he mentioned, and the creative freedom to do what we wanted to do. Then when I started doing meetings and I met the people that are on board who have worked in, all the names that you can think of for years of experience, like 10, 15, 20-year experience, I was like, they're on to something serious here. It's the technology that's going in behind making all kinds of shoes for different sports. You have people from those sporting backgrounds giving their inputs of certain movements, say badminton players and squash players and tennis players and people who have done it on the courts and been on the field, who are telling their experience of what it is required in terms of stability, performance, even the clothing. Like when I was shown the fabrics and stuff, I was like, this is exactly what I envisioned. If you put on that piece of clothing, it should make you feel free to play on the court or on the field and not restrict you in any way. So we wanted to build a high performance brand out of India. And the moment the manufacturing capabilities were taken control of, I was like, this is the moment. This is the right time to create something from India. And why can't we do it? We have all the ability. Now we have the design capabilities behind it. We have experience of global people who worked in biggest of companies who are excited about this project. So that's how the idea of 1-8 came to life, and now it's coming to the stores and to people as well.
Now, you mentioned you wanted to do it during your playing career. It'll help you in a big way in being a designer for this as well.
So the first thing they did, they came to my house and they were like, give us your clothes. They took a bag full of my own clothes that I wear, and they understood what I like to wear, and they designed the clothes according to my likes and preferences. I think the evolution of the sport, how it's taken place over the last 10, 15 years, you've seen that growth better than anyone. You've seen, it way before from our time as well, how the game has evolved and how rapidly the pace has changed. Because you want to play at that intensity, the footwear should help boost your performance rather than pull you back. We never thought about these things like 10 years ago. Just turn up on the field with a pair of spikes and that's it. But now it's become about high performance because it's the 1%, 2% things that make all the difference in the game.
He talks of intensity. He's not short of intensity. And then if you give him something light on the feet and in the clothing, he'll be firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, absolutely. and one thing I must mention, you talk about him being a designer. I think Virat is not just a designer. I would say even more than that. He's a researcher as well. So he is tracking the space as much as anybody else, continuously keeping the team on the toes. Like, he comes up with ideas which is probably a bit ahead of time, and which is what we want to do. And then, of course, the process, along with the Agilitas team working on closely on the design, some of the products, is wearing, you're wearing, I'm wearing, is to get into the little detail. So I think that's very interesting. The other thing which is very interesting that we've been able to build is have the highest standards of quality and execution, but with speed, because the world has become such that things keep changing. The old times, right from design to time to market, were pretty long. And that's what we are completely disrupting.
As Abhishek said, the ability to manufacture and put something on the shelf without having to take 10, 15 approvals and take 6 to 8 months for it to get on the stores is the biggest game changer. Because today, if we say, okay, this is what we need to change, I have the prototype with me in 2 weeks, and it's wow, this is happening at a pace which I haven't seen before. So that for us is a huge advantage.
Now the launch coming up. Talk us through what are the products that are going to come out.
Yeah, I think again, our approach to launching the brand is a bit different from how other brands have done it. Not for the sake of being different, but we believe that's the best way to do it. We have identified the first lot of products that we want to launch. This would mean one cricket shoe, which is absolutely a functional, high-performance product. I think Virat is in the best position to explain that on how that came up and how many times it has been iterated. And then there are certain products which are on the lifestyle, on the street side, and then there is athleisure apparel.
When we talk sport, when we talk equipment, it's always about bats, helmets, gloves. People forget footwear. If you're not wearing the right pair of shoes or it's a little heavier, can become difficult.
Yep.
Running between the wickets, which is, such an integral part of the white ball format of the game in particular, there's a big difference in that as well.
Everyone is trying to get around evolving the cricket shoe, because back in the old days, there used to be those hand-stitched custom shoes with 15, 20 spikes on it, and I saw those fast bowlers wear it, and there used to be heavy shoes back in the day. Then the evolution of shoes, even at the time that I started playing, the effort was to make the shoes lighter and more functional, more stable, because the intensity and the pace was increasing. So from then to now, it's a totally different ball game. I mean, you give a guy a shoe today which is even 15, 20 grams heavier, and he gets to know immediately as he runs, because he needs to get to that ball at a certain pace, and he knows something's restricting him, and they get to know immediately, because the game's so fast, that ball's going to go away from you if you're not light on your feet and the equipment is not helping you. So the evolution has been crazy. The ventilation that your feet should get playing all day long, if your feet are overheated, you sweat too much, you end up getting blisters by the evening, and you can't run. The heaviness of the shoe, how light it can keep you on your feet the whole day.
Virat had once told me that, when he was a young boy and he always wanted to build his own shoe, he used to look up to some of the shoes that he had seen, and one day he wanted that shoe. And I think I'm really, really happy that, we could finally make that happen. That's the satisfaction which is beyond the business, that delivering a top athlete like him, his dream come true on having his own shoe, which is literally designed, developed, prototyped by him at every stage. That's the thing. The other thing is that I've always thought is that basketball influences culture and have street products. Football has street products. Tennis has street products. I always wondered that this is one game which has so much of rich heritage, so much of tradition. This never led to something that one can own as a part of the street. And then we kept thinking about it, and I said that, there is so much this game has evolved from the times, and there is modern intensity, there is athleticism, the temperature has risen on in this sport, but there is still, I mean, you guys would know this much better than I would, that there are certain feelings about the game, and the certain things are still the same. The seam of the cricket ball, the bails, the wicket. Why not this becomes our inspiration to create our street shoe.
Thought of any name?
So we were calling this shoe, which Virat's wearing, which is inspired by the white ball, and this is inspired by the red ball, with the stitches of the cricket ball. It's called the Seam 18.
Fancy. That's good.
So it's the Seam 18, which is one of our first shoes to launch. And I'm very, very excited about this, that this will not just be a give back to the game in a lot of ways, but this will also become a sense of style, a sense of building a culture which cricket, deserves in lot many ways.
See that we over there, we've worn it all our lives in our sweaters. We've never known what that stands for, but now people will, immediately add 1 + 1 and says V for Virat.
A lot of people who are not connected to the heritage of the game are also watching it now. Like there are very new fans who like to dress up, who like being stylish, but you can't walk around in a jersey all day, right? So how do those people who find cricket cool now get access to something which they can wear, which has a part of cricket? And without having the knowledge of the heritage of the game, they have a part of cricket with them. But it's also cool. And you're not shying away from wearing that piece of clothing. Like a basketball, inspired jersey or a football inspired jersey. I'm talking about fashion.
Yeah.
Like why can't we have fashion with cricket in India? It's the biggest sport that we have. The following is massive, but people still hesitate in wearing something related to cricket because they feel like it's too traditional. But how do we make it cool along with keeping the tradition in place?
It's more than 4 decades for you seeing the game change. Just take us through how you feel this journey has been and how you saw cricket evolve.
See, there's always something that happens every decade. When I started, it was whites. It was fast bowling was just about to, take off with Lilly and Thompson. It was the time for spin with our own champions bowling the way they did, in the 70s. But then came Packer. And you needed someone to shake the sport, catch it and literally shake it. That's the injection the game needed. And he did that. Then came colored clothing. Then it was called pajama cricket, but it caught everyone's imagination. Then came floodlights. Then came the white ball. It captured everyone's imagination. And then right through that era, the game started getting better. Then came the West Indies. They were professional, they were fit, they had a vision on how to be the best for a decade and a half, 2 decades. And the fast bowlers came to the scene, a brand of cricket that they played with their batting, with the likes of Viv Richards leading the way, Gordon Greenwich in there. The standard of fielding. And what would surprise everyone was their level of fitness. They hardly got injured and they smashed everyone. Then came the Australians. They dominated for almost a decade and a half. Then came T20 cricket. Then came the IPL. So the game has evolved and I've seen it happening in front of my eyes. But then came an era like the West Indies with India dominating red ball cricket, which was unheard of, especially, yes, Kings at home, but to go outside and play the way they did was fantastic. Then came him, one of the biggest ambassadors for red ball cricket over the last, I still say, the most influential in advancing the red ball game. And with him leading from the front, it went down within the ranks.
So Virat, if you have to look back on times before you, what are elements of cricket that you think that you wish they continued?
Growing up, firstly, I feel very grateful that I grew up in a time where wanting to play Test cricket for India was the most important thing. Because what you had heard from your coaches and the players that you had observed, just giving you a small example how we looked up to players, just walking through Firozshah Kotla Stadium back then to Ground B and looking at the Ranji Trophy team practice on the main field, we used to feel like there's some superheroes practicing there. Like the intensity, the level of professionalism, their skill sets, we used to be in awe. And we used to just feel like if we get to this stage, that's going to be the biggest achievement for us as like 11, 12-year-olds. One thing that I think that should have been in place throughout is good quality, hard-fought Test cricket. Test cricket that tests you over a period of 4 or 5 days and then you get the result. I just hope that the essence of why people start playing the game, that always stays intact. The love for the game should not fade away because of the perks that we have around today. It's very easy to get distracted.
Like for me to be involved 4.5 decades, I've not missed a beat. And the game, it's a great game. It gives you that new thing happen. You suddenly get a phenomenal bowler who'll burst onto the scene. Say like a Jasprit, with that kind of action comes, out of the blue. You need those personalities. You had a Bradman, in the 30s who suddenly, took the sport to another level. Before that was W.G. Grace. Then you had Richards, Tendulkar. So you get Virat comes in, So you need those kind of players to, sustain the interest in the game. And, it happens.
We all know it's a legendary partnership. What clicked between?
I think I had met him a few times before we actually started working together in the team, and he came into the 2014 England tour before the white ball series started, after the test series, because we needed a bit of taking control of the ship, kind of redirecting in a way that the system is set, because he had done that before in Indian cricket. So he knew how to get the players on the same page and how to align everyone. And there was obviously a massive respect factor as well within the change room. When he walks in, you know that he's done the yards. So he knew what he was saying, and you could feel it. The first, to catch my attention, he actually knocked me into catching his attention. The first time he came and spoke in the change room, we were of course down. I had a horrible series in England in 2014, and I was down. And when he started talking, I literally shook. I was like, I never heard someone give out that intensity of voice before, like in a face-to-face capacity. I was like, whoa. And then he really caught my attention in the way that he was talking. And then of course, he was very honest, very upfront in what he saw in me, what he wanted me to do as a player to become better, because I just had a very difficult time in England. So he already was thinking of ideas to give me. And that really stood out. I was like, he's observing, like he knows exactly what's going on. He's not just randomly giving me tips. He actually wants me to get better. And then over the course of us working together, the one thing that really stood out for me was how open and how eager he was to evolve with different generation of players. He was as comfortable with the MS as he was with the Kuldeep and Chahal. So that for me was like, this is brilliant. Like, and he was willing to take the shots up front. Like if the team was under whatever, he would say, I want to go to the press conference. I want to take this stuff on, and I know what I need to say. So the players gained full confidence in him. Like he made everyone feel comfortable. They knew he's going to be honest. On the practice area, doing gestures, and never that. In the change room, one-on-one, or in his room, he'd tell you exactly what he wanted from you and what you need to do. But out there in front of the media, he'd back you to the hilt. So that for me was like, I can have full confidence in him through our working relationship, and that's why we had the best time. We had disagreements, we had different point of view, but we never had different intent. The goal was India winning, Indian cricket at the top. His ways succeeded a lot of the time, my ways succeeded a lot of the time. Sometimes we disagreed on few things. If it didn't work out, we took accountability. But we also realized over a course of time that different ways of getting to the same place also work. So we would very easily, take and give whenever it had to be. And also the people around us working were wonderful as well. But that was all initiated by him.
You got to be flexible. You got to be able to disagree at times, because then there's lateral thinking. Otherwise, everyone's moving, in one direction. You got to be able to respect someone's opinion, even if he's thinking out of the box. I love it because that's different, and if it works, fantastic. I identified very early that he's my leader. Very well. Moment MS finishes, he's the next. Communication is the key. Man management is the key. We played fearless cricket. There was no word I, it was we. We played fearless, and people were not scared of failure after a while. Because you've got to learn that failure is part of life. There is not one person who has not failed. Bradman failed every 3 innings, but still averaged 99. So did Tendulkar.
The ability to pick up from failure and just spring back, right? Because you are going to fail every other day. I think that is so incredible from sports. It teaches you so much for life.
Yeah. When you fail, you ask the question why. When you ask that question, you get the answers. Okay, this, and this. So unless you fail, you won't ask the question. Why did this happen? That's when you get to know the details that need to be taken care of for you to succeed the next time. And that's where the awareness comes in. We always speak about evolving and, understanding how to keep progressing. So between me and him, I will mention 2 incidents. When he came in, I had those failures in England in Test cricket, and I was quite sensitive about it. So he didn't push me immediately. He knew to find a space and to first build a relationship. So I think over a course of the next 2.5 months, played a lot of white ball cricket, played in England, played in India. And the one thing that, he told me when we had to go play in Australia, he asked me a simple question. Are you scared to face the bouncer? I said, no, I'm not. He said, you stand outside your crease. And for me, if I was in a place where I just wanted to protect what I know, I would have been finished. So the fact that he straight away said this to me, and I was willing to say, you know what, I'm going to do it. If that makes me perform better, I'm going to do it. So I went to play in Australia 2014-15. I scored 700 runs in that series. I was standing outside the crease, length balls, I was driving on the up. I'd never done that in my career. So I was like, wow, it's a level of trust. And the other incident, we're playing in 21, Nottingham, first test, day 1, first session. So we chose to bowl. It was damp wicket, green, and within the first hour, the seamers were bowling well, but they couldn't really, get the breakthrough. 40-45 minutes. So he sends in a message saying, "Get on, Ash. It's damp." I said, "We'll see." Then another one in 15 after drinks. "Get on, Ash. It's damp." The second time I said, "Please tell him Ash is not bowling this session. It's fine." By lunch they were 4 down. So then after that he didn't send a message. I was convinced that this will take place. But in another time, when I'm not convinced, I'd say, "Please tell me," because I'm not clear. But when I'm clear, and he knew that he's clear, this is what he wants to do, and full energy is aligned for the whole team in that plan, he would completely take a backward step.
And we won that test.
We won that. And that's why that whole time and that whole, phase went so beautifully. I mean, he spoke about the players. You ask anyone. We used to mark the date of the starting test match when we wanted to play somewhere. And we were just we couldn't wait to get to that date to take the field. That's how we used to take flights. It wasn't like, baar khelne ja rahe hain, pata nahi kya hoga. We might have lost a lot, but there was never a feeling of we don't want to be there. We want to win. We didn't capitalize on a lot of occasions. That's how we learned and ended up winning in Australia eventually. But the build-up was, let's get to that place quickly.
What you have learned in the middle is a reflection of how you are after the game is over. Nothing changes.
It's incredible what you guys were talking about in the highest level of professional sport, how relevant it is in any other team building, leadership, situations, in business, in small teams, large teams. It's ultimately the same thing. So it seems like the same thing. And I think probably sport is the highest level to learn this.
It is, and it's the same qualities.
Whether it's business world, whether it's sport, everyone's planning for you. Everyone's planning for the competition. Before the competition reaches you, you're already 5 years ahead. You're doing things that people are still thinking about. And that only comes from wanting to get better here. That, like he said, it starts from within. No one has to tell you what to do. People should actually have to hold you back, relax, you're doing too much. You can taper that down. But getting people to do enough, you don't want too many people in that position.
One moment or an hour that you relished the most together in your partnership?
There are so many. I mean, just the bus rides to different places and the banter, your characters in the team. But I remember one day at Lord's, it was COVID time and we were playing this test match and it was the last day of cricket, and England form favourites to win the game. I mean, you would say 70-30 in their favour. And then Shami and Bumrah started batting. So Shami started batting like Ranji. And Bumrah was like Dulip Sanji, So we were from the balcony, the flicks from Shami and this, that, the whole, every shot, there were guys cheering that loudly the England team could, hear, even in COVID. Because there was an echo around the ground. Too many people in that pavilion area.
Interestingly, from that day again, he spoke of trust. So they're batting, we have enough runs on the board. And they're all like, declare now, declare now. I was like, no, I'm not going to declare now. I want to wait. I kept asking the bowling coach, how many overs will we get? How many overs will we get? So I had a number in my mind. And I'm watching the game, and they're like, do it now, do it now. Like, this was like...
This is the
they
next
said,
day.
Put them in for 20 minutes before lunch. No, the same day.
Okay, the same day.
Because the first session, these guys had batted amazingly, and we had 2 sessions left after that. They're like, do it now, we'll get 20 minutes before lunch. I was like, no. So we come to lunch, and they're like, declare now, like straight after lunch. I was like, no. So I intentionally, I wanted us to go back for 1 over, because when you get rest for 40 minutes, and you pad on and you go, the focus is different. You know, as a batsman, you get 40 minutes, you relax, this, that. So let them go. 1 over they played. Second over, it was 4 edged. Everyone's looking at the ball. That's when I called them in. Like, I want them to run for 10 minutes, change quickly and come back. Your heart rate's up already as a batsman.
Wow.
And then you're like, now we have to survive. So that can also make a huge difference where the openers are walking out with composure compared to... Like, we came all this way, we ate lunch, 40 minutes, we had a rest, and now we have to run 9 balls. I'm going to declare when they don't want to go in and rush and change. And then you're like, no, fine, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But the one moment for me that stood out in our time working together is, this is still fine because you're wanting to win the game. South Africa, we're playing in Joburg, third test. And Bumrah gets Dean Elgar, this guy from South Africa. He hits him on the head. It was a dangerous pitch, honestly, the most dangerous pitch that I played on. The ball was hitting everyone left, right, center, kicking off from length. And Bumrah, he was bowling rapid, and he hit him on flush on his forehead, and the ball went towards point, and this guy was on his backside sitting on the pitch. So the umpires are like, it's too dangerous to continue, and whatever, we think it should not continue. So they took us all back in, and Faf's a great friend now. At that time he was South African captain, and there was 2 umpires, match referee, Faf and myself, and then they're all going, it's dangerous, this, that and the other. So I heard everyone, and Faf was like, someone's going to get hit. I said, no. You need all of us to agree for this game to be called off. We want to play. If you guys want to forfeit at home, it's your choice. We're going to go out there and play, because we've had 2 innings. Now suddenly in the last innings, you can't say the pitch is dangerous. You guys were trying to bounce our guys on a dangerous pitch. Yeah. We're going to take the field and we're going to play. If you want to forfeit this game, it's up to you. And that for me was the representation of how we wanted to play our cricket. Like, they did not want to continue. We wanted to play that game.
And we were 2-0 down.
We were 2-0 down.
Being 3-0 down.
Yeah, we were 2-0 down. Like, for us, it was very easy to say, draw le lo yaar. Matlab, ek aur nahi harenge. It's good only. Ek match to draw hoga. No chance. We want to go and play, and we want to play in a certain way.
Have there been times when you've held back your natural instinct for a particular reason?
I can't think of any moment in all the days that I've played the game that my instinct has gone wrong. So when he says, like, not scared of failure, that comes from instinct. It's not you can't plan to not be scared of failure. I've never succeeded being too calculative on the field. I just cannot. So every time I've tried to think too much about the game, I've failed.
Did you have to hold him back any time from his...
No, never.
No.
Not while batting.
Once. I'll tell you what. This was Melbourne, right?
Yeah.
He was having a fabulous series, and he got off to a start, right? And he and Mitch were constantly, having a go, because the first ball he played him, he hit him on the head, and then he got 100 in each inning. Then we reached Melbourne, and he's off to a start at lunchtime. So both going, just walking outside and going. As he enters the dressing room, he's looking at Mitch like this, catch him, come here now, come here, focus on your batting. He got 160, but there also he was looking, I said, this is off the field, bro, chill. But that was that's how we played against him, and he leading from the front. So it's
During the times we spoke about a lot of serious stuff, very meaningful. What are some of the incidences which still make you, laugh aloud during these times that you guys had together?
It's normally when it's raining, okay? And then the dressing room, all hell breaks loose. Especially, there are characters in the dressing room, like him and Jaddu together. There'll be some topic or the other, and there'll be laughter. And then if Shiki joins in there, And again, because they've all played so much of cricket from a young age, they pull back stories of, many years.
Majority of the time we just had a blast. Like off the field, we had a blast together. Like people used to hang out together. We used to go out for meals together. The one thing that I remember clearly that stood out during our times was we had the best get-togethers after a loss. After we won, we were not really interested in, isko aur badhao, celebrate. After a loss, we used to get together like we won a series. So that just used to relax the atmosphere in a way ki yaar, koi problem hi nahi hai. Like, they're so relaxed about it. Yeah, we can get up again and get the job done. I remember Sri Lanka, we lost the first test in 2015 in Gaul. Out of a winning position, we lost the game. And that evening we got together and I think that was probably the best evening we had as a team, like in the whole tenure. And we won the series 2-1.
Okay, we'll do this. There are certain balls and one word is written on it. So you pick it up. And one thing that you remember from the red ball time or the white ball time from this, it can be your coaching time, it can be your playing days. And for you, of course, your playing days. And let's see which anecdote or what does it remind you?
Okay.
Who goes
You
first?
go first.
Pure joy, beating Australia in 2019. The first team to beat them, in Asian team to win in 71 years. Which till today it's the only Asian team to beat them. And pure joy.
Yep. Give back.
Yeah.
I won't talk individually, but again, that Lord's game was a time that I saw everyone riled up. From a Shami to a Bumrah to Ishant, and everyone was like in on it. That was one day where in all my days of leading the team, I felt like I had to say nothing to no one. Everyone, like even Pujara was on it. That was the intensity of that day. So I'd always fondly remember that day of giving back as a team.
Opportunity, the 21 series. It was lockdown, and I always remember telling the boys, in adversity comes an opportunity. And by the end of the tour, we realized that opportunity.
It's phenomenal. Bittersweet. In 2022, in that Asia Cup, was the time I got my 100 after 2 years. I'd taken a month and a half off. It's not a good feeling. You're not playing well and you decide to, because your mind is telling you do more, try more. And then it makes you feel bad immediately. But then you come back and then you start playing freely. And you're feeling all relaxed in your body. So you can go back to that moment where you decided to step away, but then the accumulation of what it means, how you refocus, and you're playing the way you want to, it's kind of a bittersweet phase for me in my career.
Nostalgia, all pointing to Australia. I think nostalgia will be for me some of the toughest cricket test matches. Johannesburg, and then of course Lords. Again Australia, winning that first. Well, the first one is the big one. To beat them first time around there, that's nostalgic, especially when it happens in special places.
Last one.
Adrenaline. I'd say where I went into ultra instinct mode was T20 against Pakistan in Melbourne. I had never experienced adrenaline like that in my career, since or before. I've had many games where, we won matches from situations where even Mohali against Australia, it was tough, but you kind of knew what you wanted to do and how you want. This was like, it elevated me to a place where I had never experienced something like that. And that's the only time I felt the emotions, the feelings of everyone in the stadium was at the same level. The players, us playing out there, and the crowd, people watching, they were all at the same level of tension and that adrenaline after, which I haven't experienced before. There are a lot of people who can be disconnected, not at the same level. That you could feel it, like that force of energy was something completely different on that night.
Perfect. Thank you. And I am now going to round this off.
Okay.
With questions to you back to back, 6 seconds for answers, whatever comes to your mind. I'll start with you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Biggest myth about Virat?
Arrogant, spoiled brat, over the top, on edge, everything true, but on the field. Totally the opposite of it. You know, I love people who have the ability to switch on like that and then switch off.
Cricketers from the 80s and before would ace the fitness tests that today's modern cricketers have to go through.
He'll be on par with Viv and him. You know, it brings, when I played so much with Richards, and when I see Virat, you know, I think of Richards because he had that kind of intensity on the field. When he was leading, when he was a player, inflict a run out from somewhere, take a brilliant catch, you know, in the face of the opposition, is everywhere in the field. He's like a live wire. Very similar. And then played, when they batted with that kind of intensity. You know, looking the bowler in the eye and taking them on.
To you, Virat, funniest fan moment?
There was he passed away now, a very renowned Sri Lankan fan named Percy. And he used to come and dance at the stadiums and very iconic. So he was dancing around the change room. We had a little bit of a break and Ajinkya was vice captain. So Ajinkya was dancing with him and Percy went to kiss him. And there's a video of it on the internet. We were on the floor, like Percy was going for it and Jinx was like, oh, this is way too much. You know, Jinx was dancing. So he went for it and then Percy went for Jinx. So that for me was the standout funniest fan moment.
Okay. Most fashionable cricketers from different generations.
Ravi Bhai was quite fashionable.
I wasn't shy.
Which
cricketing moment that you were not a part of from history or current that you wish you were a part of?
It's quite a difficult one to answer. I'd probably say 2003 World Cup in South Africa, Centurion. I would have loved to be batting with Sachin Paji when he hit that shot of Shoaib. And the way he batted that day. That really knocked me into the reality of, whoa, this is the level I want to get to. But I would love to be on the non-striker side.
Ravi, you've said a lot and thank you so much. It has been very, very interesting. I will let you go with one question. Where do you miss Virat the most today?
Oh, the dressing room, man. It was pure joy, you know, just, seeing the way he led the team, the way he batted, especially the ones in tough conditions, the one at Centurion, the one in Melbourne, 200s that he got. And a lot of people think it's just seeing him bat. For me, the energy he brought onto the ground, you know, literally lifted the team. You know, that energy kept everyone on their toes. It was infectious. That's what he missed.
Working with him was the most enjoyable time that I had as a cricketer. He brought in honesty, integrity, and a vision which was unwavering. As I said, for us, was the biggest source of confidence and of assurance that we are heading in the right direction. So that kind of hand on your shoulder to say it's okay. At the same time, being honest with you. So yeah, working with him is the time that I always think of as the most enjoyable phase in my career.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
It has been an absolute pleasure to have you guys.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you.
1-8.
Thank you.
Where you saw heights
Thank
like
you.
not seen before.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Cheers.
Thank you.